All right, I think like most of you will think this one might be something quite difficult for you. All right, so probably we can take a close look at some of the questions. Probably you think probably those questions will be a little bit difficult for you. So probably we can take a close look here. So hopefully you enjoy the setting of these questions because basically I use the setting of school to design the questions we have here. And so it's going to be some of your life in our school. So we can take a look at the very first question that probably a lot of people make this kind of mistake. So for the very first one, our teacher invite us to post our personal profile on our class Padlet. So, which means we could introduce ourselves to new classmates on the Padlet, right? So that's why here, if you want to use which, you have to say on which, or you have to say which we could introduce ourselves to our new classmates. So in other words, for this part, you can use the word like where. So where, which refers to on which. So on which, at which, in which, you can simply use the word where. And if you want to use this one, which, then there are two of the way you can use because we introduce ourselves on the website, on the Padlet. So here it should be like so the previous part will be the same. And then here will be which we could like introduce ourselves to our new classmates. Probably I can type the whole sentence. Which we could introduce ourselves to our new classmates on. So because we do this one on the website, so which we could introduce ourselves to our new classmates on. So which, this word refers to this one, our class Padlet. All right, so we can do so on our class Padlet. So as you can see, we had to do this one on the website. So that's why you need a on here. Or because it's really weird, they will put on in the end. So for English sentences, there will be a rule that you are going to learn here in high school. There will be on which we could do or we could introduce ourselves to our new classmates. All right. And then in this case, we put on here in the beginning. That will be also okay for this one because on the website, which means on the website, we could introduce ourselves to our new classmates. All right. So that might be the very first one. And for the word on which is equal to where. So you can just simply use where in this place. And let's move on to number 4. So for number 4 here, it says the news. Our school is going to have another new department. Surprises me. So as you can see here, the news, this part will be the subject. Surprises me. So this part will be the verb. So basically, we had a subject, and then we had a verb here. What's wrong with this one? Okay, the news. And then the verb is here. All right. So basically for this part, there will be a clause we use to describe what the news is about. All right. So in this case, we use that clause. All right, that's because inside the sentence, we also have another small sentence here. Our school, so this part will be the subject, is going to have something. So this part is the verb. Okay, it's going to have something. So that's why we need a word that, okay, to combine the two sentences, right? What's wrong with this one? Anyways, running weird. Right, so this part will be the subject, and this part will be the verb, right? And for this one, as I mentioned, so we use that here. We can also use the word which here, but we don't have the choice which here, so that's why we can only choose this one. And so if you choose says, and there will be there should be something we try to connect a small sentence here because we already have the main verb here. All right, so that's why we choose that or which. And for this one, probably can quickly make it type over, like we use where here. All right, and for the word which, as I mentioned, which this part refers to the Padlet. Okay, so that's why we need on here. So we could do so. I just try to make simple on. Okay. So we have on here. Or another way you will be like you put on in the beginning. So there'll be something like this, on which we could do so. All right. Should be on. Okay, so will be number 2 and number 4 we have here. And then we can move on to the next question we have here. All right, so for number 8, I hope I will break the school record in the 100-meter swimming race on sports day, and it will make me more than happy. So in this case, we'll choose which. We don't use that here. That's because which here refers to the whole things we have here. Okay, and for that, we cannot have this kind of mark here. All right, so that's why the only choice will be that. There's another way to say so. There'll be something like I hope I will break the school record in the race on sports day. And you can also say, if you use the word like a subject like it, okay, and it will make me more than happy. So it here can also refers to the overall thing we have here. I hope I will break the school record in a 100-meter swimming race. You can use the word it to be the pronoun to mean the whole sentence we have here. But if you use it here will be a subject. So that's why you need and here to connect the two sentences. And here you can also use that as well. And that will make me more than happy. So we should have one more word. So here, either one, you can use the word it or that. And it will make me more than happy, and that will make me more than happy. So we have two choices here. Then for this one is also quite similar. Here it says, though our English teacher can speak a little Thai, he has never been to Thailand, and this place is located in Southeast Asia. So as we know, Thailand will be a place. So that's why it's impossible for us to use like who, this one. Then, which one should we choose? In this one, we use the word this one. You have to use this one. One easy tip for this one will be something like this. If you see this one, you can think about this one means equal. So this one is equal. Right, do not use it, otherwise you get confused. So this one means equal. So if I use the one here, we know there's only one Thailand around the world. So that one will be the only one. So which means this one will be equal to this one. So that's why we use this one here. So Thailand, as we know, there's just one Thailand, so which is located in Southeast Asia, for example. Then for this one, do you know our principal? So of course, principal here is a person. So we are not going to use a word like which and which, these two. And we know we only have one principal here in our school. So that's why here we use who. And with the mark here. All right. And before we move on to this one, probably I can type an example sentence here for you to make some guesses. So for example, I have a brother who is an engineer. Versus try another one. Or I can make it complicated. My brother who is an engineer lives in Taipei. Another one would be my brother who, if I don't have this one, just use this one, who is an engineer lives in Taipei. All right, so we can take a look at this one. So my brother here is the subject, and lives in Taipei here is the verb. All right, so here, as we know, this part will be the clause we use to describe who my brother is. And for this one, my brother also, this part will be the subject. Lives in Taipei, so this part will be the verb. And as we know, this part will also be a clause we use to describe who my brother is. The only difference lies on this one. So probably I can highlight this one a little bit. So for sentence A, our school computer is really weird. So for sentence A, can you make a guess about how many brothers I have? Please type answer in the chat box. My brother who is an engineer lives in Taipei. My brother who is an engineer lives in Taipei. So for sentence A, how many brothers do I have? Yeah, it's quite obvious, right? Only one brother. So I think you know the concept, right? So as you can see, this one means like equal. So my brother is equal to an engineer. I only have one brother, and we know he is an engineer. But for the second sentence, my brother who is an engineer lives in Taipei. So in this case, which means what? I have more than one brother. Probably I have two brothers. So here I use this clause to define or to tell which brother he is. Okay, to tell which brother he is. So in this case, probably I have another brother who is a teacher, lives in Kaohsiung, for example. So in this case, which means I have more than one brother. And here I'm talking about a brother who is an engineer and he lives in Taipei. So when you say this one, which means just one, and these two will be equal, right, to each other. And let's move on to the next one. Although our school tuck shop is not big, it sells different kinds of snacks and drinks. So as you can see here, our school tuck shop, this part will be the subject. It's not big, here is the verb. And then it sells, so it, here's the subject. And sells, here is another verb. So in other words, for the two sentences, we need one conjunction or one connector, just like and, so, because, or, to connect the two sentences. All right, so that's a school bell. And here we already have although, this connector here. All right, so that's why in this case, we don't need to put anything here. So one connector to connect two sentences, and that's good enough. So we don't need another but here. We have although here already. So here we don't need anything because we have although here as the connector, as the conjunction already. Then let's move on to the last one very quickly. So the teacher we got the homework was actually quite hardworking. So again, originally the sentence will be like, we got the homework from the teacher. So they'll be from the teacher. So we need from here. All right. And the teacher, as we know, here we can use whom or who. Let's use another color here. So the teacher, whom. That's because we have from whom. So from behind, we had to use an object like from him, from her, from them. So that's why we have from here. And we use whom here. So whom here refers to the teacher. So that's why we use this. We have this one. If you want to use something different, there will be like the teacher whom we got the homework from. Whom we got the homework from was actually quite hardworking. All right. So again, whom here, and we need from here, and whom here refers to the teacher. And for modern English we are using right now, here you can also simply use a word like who, but they will be more likely to be used like for speaking. All right. So this one is not really that recommended. It's really want to make your writing more standard and correct. So this one probably just for your reference. But basically, if you want to choose who here, you have to have a from here. So the teacher whom we got the homework from was actually quite hardworking. So there will be this one. Then for this one, the last one, we are not allowed to travel for long distance. We can stay home and learn online. If you use the word since and because, these two will be the same here. Since can also means because. All right. So probably one thing you can see here in high school for the connector because, you can use a word like us. Okay, because you can use a word like us. Or you can use a word like since. Or one more will be for to connect the two sentences. All right. And so here, before we are allowed to travel for long distance, we can stay home. All right. And although we are allowed to travel for long distance, we can still stay home. All right. So although we can do so, we can still stay home. They'll be fine. But if you since or because, there'll be something like a cause and effect. There'll be like the reason and the result. So if we are thinking about the reason, will be we are allowed, because we're allowed to travel long distance and we can stay home and learn online. I think these two are not really that like a cause and effect. So that's why here we choose before and although. All right. So they will be all for some of the points we have here. Then one more question to end the class we have here will be, if you take the same test again, how many points do you think you will get from 1 to 100? Please type your answer. If you take this kind of test again, how many points will you get from 1 to 100? What might be your thought? So from 1 to 100, if you had to take this kind of test again, how many points would you get? All right, so lovely, about like 190 or 80 or 95. All right, so there will be some of the grammar points they are going to have in high school. And actually, the concepts or the ideas are quite similar with the ones you learn in junior high school. But basically, it will be something more a little bit. So you have to think about that one in a kind of special way, can I say so? Or try to tweak or try to change your thought a little bit. But basically, the concepts or the ideas are the same. Basically, in your junior high school, you have learned all the basic grammar rules already. In high school, there will just be some change or some extension for those grammar points. All right. So make sure you know all the grammar points from week 1 to week 3, because they are going to be your baseline of high school grammar. All right. So if you have no more question, probably we can stop here and see you tomorrow. Bye.